have an interesting story. This one broke today. So if you're an Al Sharpton fan, you may not like this segment, but we got to cover this story. Okay. We got to talk about this. Yes. It's been about a week. Since I told you about this particular story here, where MSNBC said they were unaware that Kamala Harris's campaign donated $500,000 to Al Sharpton's nonprofit before the friendly interview. So we covered that story on the show. I told you how he got money from Kamala, and that was prior to the interview. He did not disclose that information with MSNBC. There are a number of reporters that spoke to people at MSNBC, and they said that no, they did not know about it, but also they don't agree with what he did. And they also said it goes against what we're about. I remember that quote and I was like, okay, whatever. But obviously MSNBC was not happy with Al Sharpton doing that. I know a lot of you guys said that's not cool. I said it's not cool because the thing is, obviously you're going to give her preferential treatment because she gave you some moolah. Okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the walls are closing in. Now, the Black church has built a coalition around this particular story, and now they are coming after Al Sharpton. Reverend Al Sharpton. Don't forget, he's a Rev. Don't forget about the Rev part. They have turned against Al Sharpton, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, they have. Check this out. Church turns on MSNBC host Al Sharpton over $500,000 in payments from Harris's campaign. You know, if you're a reverend, hold up. If you're a reverend and the church turns against the Black church is going against you, you know you done messed up, right? You know you done messed up. So it goes on to say here, there's Al, there he is. There's Al Sharpton. There's the informant. Don't forget, Al Sharpton was also an informant. Marvin said, Al grabbed the paper, Sharpton. Here it is. The walls are closing in. Uh-oh. A Black church group has called on MSNBC to suspend one of its lead anchors over reports that he received $500,000 in undisclosed donations from Kamala Harris's campaign. So the Black church is not only upset with Al Sharpton, they are asking or demanding MSNBC to suspend Al Sharpton. The Black church said, we coming for that job. You can't. Oh my God. Host Al Sharpton interviewed Ms. Harris twice in October on his show, Politics Nation, in the lead up to Election Day. FEC filings later revealed her campaign had made two donations to $250,000 each to the presenter's nonprofit National Action Network, with the network admitting last week that it was unaware of the payments. The National Black Church Initiative. Actually, we're going to make this a little bit bigger. And we'll go back up. Yeah. The National Black Church Initiative, which represents 150,000 Black churches across the country, has said that the payment to Mr. Sharpton's group puts a moral stain on the integrity of the Black church. Now, let me just break this down for people. This is one of those moments when I was growing up, when I was a kid, you know, it's one thing if your parents tell you that they're mad at you. It's another thing if they tell you that they're disappointed with you. I could handle it better if my parents said that they were mad. If my parents told me that they were disappointed, that was a whole other thing, you know. Yeah, come back from that and we can talk about that at another time. But if you lose your parents' trust, you have to work to earn it back. So the Black church here is saying that it's a moral stain So that kind of reminds me of that disappointment part, right? It's one thing to say, oh, this is bad. It's another thing to say it's a moral stain. You are a stain on the integrity of the Black church, as well as being a television host. Mr. Sharpton is a Baptist minister and a civil rights activist. The group, which claims to represent 27.7 million churchgoers across the country, said it was very concerned by the growing scandal and urged MSNBC to launch an investigation. It also called for Reverend Sharpton's suspension until the investigation is complete. So where others have chosen to remain silent, the Black church is choosing not to about this particular issue. They shouldn't even have to come in and tell MSNBC what is the moral thing to do. Yeah, he should be suspended for that. Something should be done. There should be some type of repercussions. But when the Black church steps in and they bond together as a unit, Black churches all across the country, it's game over, fam. And if you ever went to a Black church, you ever grew up in a Black church, you know this. When all these Black churches come together as a coalition, that is game over, fam. So they are letting Al Sharpton know, just because you're Black and just because you are a reverend, that doesn't mean that we're not going to push back against you when you do wrong. Significant ethics concerns. Reverend Anthony Evans, the church group's president, told the Washington Free Beacon that Mr. Sharpton was loved and admired by many in our coalition, but added that does not take away from the fact that he is facing significant moral and journalism ethics concerns regarding this payment or donation to National Action Network. Now, when it comes to the journalism ethics concerns, this is something that MSNBC should have handled anyway. The Black church shouldn't have to come and tell you that this is an ethics issue for journalism. And MSNBC knows that. But a lot of these people are not real journalists. They're commentators. They read a teleprompter. A lot of them are not actual, real investigative journalists, right? What did Rachel Maddow say? What did Rachel Maddow and Tucker Carlson argue? They said they're infotainment. Here we go. In addition, Reverend Sharpton is a minister of the gospel. This payment does not look good for a man supposed to represent integrity. Mr. Sharpton is a vocal Democrat supporter who spoke at the party's national convention in August. But one of the presenter MSNBC colleagues told Fox News that the six-figure transaction his group received from Harris' campaign is a bridge too far. Oh, Al, you burning the bridge. You have burned the bridge. Oh, no. Atoli says, joy cometh in the morning. Oh, no. It's bad. Oh, boy. The 250,000 donations to National Action Network, which Mr. Sharpton founded in 1991, were made on September 5th and October 1st, shortly before MSNBC aired the presenter's interviews with Ms. Harris on October 3rd and October 20th. Mr. Sharpton has a history of financial troubles. Here we go. Having pleaded guilty in 1993 to not filing his 1986 tax return in exchange for having 2 felony charges dropped. Everybody see this, right? In 2008, reports claimed the television host owed nearly $1.5 million in back taxes. Meanwhile, the New York Times reported in 2014 that records showed more than $4.5 million in current state and federal tax liens against him and his for-profit businesses. Mr. Sharpton told the outlet the outstanding balance was much lower than records showed. It comes as MSNBC has been hit by a double header of scandals over payments and political bias after it emerged that Rachel Maddow, one of its lead presenters, had renewed her contract for $25 million a year. By the way, it was $30 million. You know, they had to give her a little bit of a pay cut because those ratings dropped. So that's what that was all about. The network's future remains uncertain after its parent company, Comcast, recently revealed plans to spin off the channel. Elon Musk, who labeled the network utter scum on earth after it spliced together footage of a Nazi rally and a Trump campaign event, floated the possibility of buying it. How much does it cost? He asked, in response to a post about the network's potential sale. MSNBC was approached for a comment. So the Black church has come together to let Al Sharpton know that they feel he should be suspended from MSNBC because he took that money from Kamala Harris's campaign, especially prior to that interview, but he did not disclose that information. And I told you sometimes these things can come back to bite you in the ass. He's a reverend. He's not just a commentator on MSNBC and someone who is an actor, who used to be like a civil rights activist. He's also a reverend. And when you have that title, especially in the Black church, that's serious. People take that seriously. So we're going to have to sit back and wait and see if MSNBC is going to be moved on this. But here's the thing. You guys got to understand that MSNBC obviously supports the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party always comes through the Black church come election time, whether it's presidential election, whether it's congressional races, they come through the Black church. So what the Black church could do is they could say, if you do not hold Al Sharpton accountable for what he did, then the Democratic Party no longer runs through the Black church. Now, I don't think it should run through the Black church any damn way. I think people need to leave the Democratic Party. Leave both of these leave the two-party system, leave all of it. Because they're both corporate. Both of these parties are corporate and they serve corporate interests. They're not really trying to help you. But that is another demand that they could make. So Al Sharpton is now not only being scrutinized by, commentators like me, but also now by the Black church. And that does mean something for someone like him. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming forth to carry me home. I'm being silly now. But what? He's an informant. Al Sharpton was an informant. Al Sharpton, I remember the story about the taxes, but I remember they were coming after him for child support. They said, you need to take care of your kid. I remember all this stuff. And personally, I liked old school Al. I liked Al back when he had the perm. He was a little bit, heftier. I thought he was a little bit more raw back then. But this Al, nah. He's status quo. Nico says, oh boy, all these hymns. Oh my God. We'll see what happens, but I got to tell you again, that's not good for him. Well. Hey guys, this was a Sabby clip. If you like what you saw, hit that like button and subscribe.